boys and girls, children of all ages. The Nerdy Man Room Show proudly brings to you Cards Subject to Change with Hassel. This week, we're going to tackle what if the $1 Million Man had actually been allowed to purchase the WWF Championship in 1998. So, for those of you with the benefit of flash photography for memory, you will remember that on Saturday night's main event, Andre the Giant, and through nefarious means, he defeated the Hulkster. He won the WWF Championship, and it actually stuck. However, he immediately awarded it to the $1 Million Man, Ted Dibiase, because at the end of the day, everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man. So, he awarded the title to him. But, that jackal of a president of the WWF at the time, Jack Tunney, he said, we're not doing that. That's not happening, people. And he stripped my $1 Million Man of the title. We had a tournament at WrestleMania IV, and we got the Macho Man as our new WWF champion. However, what if? What if on that fateful night, on that Saturday night, during the main event, what if that didn't go down? What if Andre still wins the WWF Championship? What if he awards it to the $1 Million Man? The $1 Million Man is awarded your new WWF champion. And what if it sticks? Let's dive into people to this. So the next week on Superstars, President Jack Tunney announces that it's stated in the $1 Million Man and Andre the Giant's contract that Andre had a stipulation stating that if he won the WWF Championship, he could award it to anyone of his choosing, and it would be the $1 Million Man, and that it was in the fine print that Hogan and his lawyers did not read. So as such, he cannot strip Ted Dibiase of the WWF Championship as much as he wants to. So, $1 Million Man is officially your new WWF champion, all because of Andre the Giant. However, he can declare that at WrestleMania 4, there will be a 14-man tournament to determine a new number one contender, and later in the night, that winner of that tournament would face the $1 Million Man for the WWF Championship. At WrestleMania 4, Ted DiBiase, he sits in a skybox with none other than Donald Trump. Now, people, this is pre-presidential Donald Trump, so despite your politics, Donald Trump was mega bucks at the time, so the $1 Million Man to be sitting in a skybox, him, Virgil, and Trump, T. Daddy, that was big stuff back in '88. They're sitting up there watching the tournament matches. Hogan and Andre ends in a double DQ. Macho Man, he advances to the end to face the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Now, he would go on to cut an amazing promo and really hype the crowd up. In the main event, we get the WWF champion, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah. Now, Ted has Andre and Virgil with him. Ted is fresh, he's confident, he's looking good. The $1 Million Man comes out with Miss Elizabeth, and he's looking rough, ragged, and his elbow is heavily taped. DiBiase immediately begins to work on the elbow. $1 Million Man controls 80% of this contest. Then Macho mounts his comeback, and Ted is reeling. He slams Ted in the center of the top rope, signaling for the elbow drop. When all of a sudden he looks down and Andre has Miss Liz cornered in there. So Macho Man jumps off the top rope with the axe handle onto Andre the Giant. Now, DiBiase would use this and capitalize as Macho Man climbs back into the ring, hits him with the $1 Million Dream. Savage fights off, but ultimately falls to the submission. And still WWF Champion, the $1 Million Man. On Saturday night's main event, March 12th, 1988, WWF Champion Ted Dibiase with Virgil and Andre versus the $1 Million Man in a WrestleMania rematch. But before the matches start, Andre and Virgil would jump Macho Man while Dibiase just taunts Savage, laughing at him. Then down comes Hogan, who Miss Elizabeth have drugged to the back. The heels escape. The good guys stand tall to end the show. Now we begin our build to SummerSlam, and we still get the formation of the Mega Powers. Yeah! That was big stuff back in '88, people. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and Google them shits. That's big stuff. DiBiase goes on to cement himself as a top guy and a credible champion with wins over Don the Rock Morocco, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Jake the Snake Roberts. At SummerSlam, August 29th, 1988, we get the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks, with none other than Jesse the Body Ventura as special guest referee. Now, Virgil would flash a bunch of money at the Body early in the match, and Hogan would kick the hand of Virgil's. The money would go everywhere. Hogan would step in, and we're off to the races. Fun old school match. The heels beat the Mega Powers down in the beginning, and then Hogan begins to hulk up, doing only like he can, getting the Hulksters behind him and really getting it going, people. He slams Andre outside the ring, tagging Macho, who then fights DiBiase. DiBiase attempts the $1 Million Dream, but Hogan gives him the big boot. Macho climbs the top rope, hits the elbow drop for the 1, 2, 3, and winner of SummerSlam, the Mega Powers. I mean, you couldn't end a good pay-per-view back then. Vince sent the crowd home happy more often than not, and we just didn't at WrestleMania. So here you go, people. Mega Powers celebrate to close SummerSlam. Now on Superstars, Ted DiBiase would put a bounty on the Mega Bucks, on the Mega Powers. Twin Towers, Demolition, and the Powers of Pain all spend the next several weeks gunning the Mega Powers down. On Saturday night's main event on October 29th, 1988, we get WWF Champion the $1 Million Man versus Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. Before the match, Ted offers Ultimate Warrior $1 million for him to forfeit the match and the Intercontinental Championship. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man. Warrior growls and does one of the typical things. Then he says, the Warriors have already fueled the rocket ship. No. He punches Ted DiBiase across the head. Warrior controls most of the matchup. Then, due to a cheap shot by Virgil, Ted gains control. DiBiase uses the advantage to lock in the $1 Million Dream. Now, Warrior will begin to fade. The ref is checking his arm. He drops it 1 time. He drops it 2 times. Then he drops it 3/4 before he begins to warrior up himself. $1 Million Man is in real trouble here because the Ultimate Warrior uses his strength to break the $1 Million Dream. Then he uses his warrior strength to do hip to clotheslines. And then the military press slam. But before he can hit the splash, Andre and the Honky Tonky Man come down and make the save. The ref rings the bell, signaling for the DQ. Andre holds Warrior as the Honky Tonk Man blast Warrior over the head with the guitar. Now then, the $1 Million Man would signal for Virgil to pay the Honky Tonk Man. Hogan's music would erupt and down would come the Mega Powers as they come and clear the ring to end the show on a high note. Back then, we got a lot of DQ finishes for the heels, guys. On Wrestling Challenge, it is announced that at Survivor Series, it will be the Mega Powers with the Ultimate Warrior, Coco Beware, and Hillbilly Jim versus the $1 Million Team, Ted DiBiase, Andre the Giant, Honky Tonk Man, and the Twin Towers. At Survivor Series, November 24th, 1988, in a pre-match interview, Ted Dibiase offers each member of his team that gets a pinfall victory and survives the match a $100,000 bonus. On the opposite side, Hogan, Savage, and Warrior cut a stellar promo. I'm talking about a wild one. Could you imagine those three men? The fans are rabid and they are just in chaos. They're loving it. In the main event, we get the Mega Powers versus Team $1 Million. Match starts with Boss Man and Savage. Savage looks great as the faces keep control with quick tags. Then Andre gets in and regains control, quickly eliminating heel Billy Jim. Hogan gets in next, and we're always getting that just that iconic Hogan Andre stare down between the two, and then they're off to go. Eventually, both men get a double DQ on each other, as you know, we just couldn't. Neither one could really get a pinfall on each other back then. So we eliminate them this way. Next, it's the $1 Million Man eliminating Coco Beware, the Birdman. People, I actually liked Coco back in the day, guys. So let's show him some love. But he is now eliminated. It is down to Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage versus the $1 Million Man, the Honky Tonk Man, and the Twin Towers. Now, Gorilla Monsoon will be beside himself. Jesse, it's an insurmountable odd. The Body would chime back, Monsoon, everybody has a price, and I bet Warrior turns on Savage. Then we get that famous Gorilla, will you stop? One by one, our heroes battle back, eliminating the Twin Towers, both Big Boss Man and Akeem, the African Dream. Then, the $1 Million Man, he begins to kind of lose it at this point. Warrior beats Honky Tonk Man and is blindsided by Ted DiBiase. Warrior, in his weakened state, passes out from pain in the $1 Million Dream. Now it is just Macho Man and Ted DiBiase. Macho mounts a huge offense and looks to have the match won. He climbs the top rope, but Virgil flashes cash at the ref and distracts him. Savage axe handles Virgil. Then Hogan comes back down, but inadvertently hits the $1 Million Man, signaling the DQ win for Team $1 Million Man. Savage is irate. Hogan's apologizing. There's chaos between the Mega Powers to end the Survivor Series. Now, Saturday night's main event, 2 nights later, we would get none other than the Brother Love Show. Now, if you don't remember the Brother Love Show, come on, guys. I love you. Brother Love would accuse Hogan of trying to steal the spotlight from Savage. $1 Million Man would come out and he would agree. He would then accuse Hogan of asking for $100,000 to give Ted the win. Savage runs down and gets all in Hulk's face. The show ends in chaos as it looks like our heroes are no longer friends. The next few weeks, Savage and Hogan get back on the same page. On Superstars, President Jack Tunney announces that of the Saturday night's main event, it will be Hulk Hogan versus the $1 Million Man for the WWF Championship. Saturday night's main event, January 7th, 1989. That's right, people. We have entered 89. The immortal Hulk Hogan with Miss Elizabeth versus the WWF champion Ted DiBiase with Virgil. Now, Ted cheap shots Hogan to gain early advantage where he gets control for 80% of the match. Then we get the classic Hogan comeback, and when down comes the Twin Towers. DQ as Akeem and Boss Man jump Hogan. DiBiase and Virgil join, and then before the 4 men, they do a ton of damage. Ted stuffs $100 bills in Hogan's match. Miss Liz covers Hogan to try to stop the pain. Just stop the bleeding, people. Shielding the Hulkster with her body when down would run Savage with a chair, clearing the ring to close the show. At the Royal Rumble, January 15th, 1989, $1 Million Man would win the Royal Rumble, last eliminating Hogan, who was arguing with Savage, who he had just tossed out. The Mega Powers argue ringside as Ted DiBiase celebrates and laughs. The main event 2 February 3rd, 1989, WWF Champion, the $1 Million Man, Ted Dibiase versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ho! Tough guy. This will be a fun match right here, actually. Duggan would really shine as the crowd is firmly behind him. Duggan goes for the 3-point shoulder block tackle when Virgil pulls Ted out of the way, and Hacksaw hits the corner post with his shoulder. Ted would then apply the $1 Million Dream to get the win. The Dream was a serious move back then, folks. So it would be a good solid finisher today. Later in the night, the Mega Powers would finally explode as Savage would accuse Hogan of having lust in his eyes. Yeah. On prime time, Bobby the Brain would interview Randy Savage when down comes none other than Ted Dibiase. Now, the champ would show doctored photos of Hogan taking the bribe at the Survivor Series, confirming to the already crazy Macho Man that he did take the $100,000 to cost Savage the match. He would then tell Savage that next week on Superstars, he has something for Savage, something befitting a king. On Superstars, the Macho King Randy Savage is officially born as a $1 Million Man anoints Savage the new king of the WWF. Savage says his eyes are finally open. Long live the Macho King Randy Savage. March 11th, 1989, Saturday night's main event. We got WWF Champion, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and the Macho King, Randy Savage, versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Jake the Snake Roberts. Miss Elizabeth, now she is ringside just crying her eyes out. She don't like the Macho King. She don't like where we're going with this. Sherry hasn't got involved yet, but she's coming. The heels would really be beating the tar out of our good guys when down would come Hogan, who chases Macho to the back. $1 Million Man, he is irate as he turns around to a DDT from Jake the Snake Roberts for the 1, 2, 3. Winners of the match, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Jake the Snake Roberts. Ho! Tuesday Night Titans, Jake challenges Ted DiBiase to a title match at WrestleMania V. President Jack Tunney makes it official. Oh, Jack, man, when he showed up, some serious business happened. We get a great build towards WrestleMania V between Jake the Snake Roberts and DiBiase. DiBiase even takes the WWF Championship hostage for a short spell, teasing the $1 Million Man all throughout the build to WrestleMania V. WrestleMania V, April 2nd, 1989. Now Hogan, he still goes on to defeat the Macho King, not the Macho Man at WrestleMania 5, but the title's out of the picture, and it would be just as important a match as it was for the title at the original WrestleMania 5. But the main event, we get WWF Champion $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase versus Jake the Snake Roberts, with special guest referee George Foreman, people. That's right. The Foreman was making a comeback at the time. This was just before he would go on to become the oldest heavyweight champion of the world in boxing later that year or early into the next year. I forget which it is. But Foreman was a beast. He was a megastar, and this would have been huge to have him as a special guest referee. Ted offers Foreman $50,000 at the beginning of the match, but George slaps the money out of Ted's hand. He is a man of integrity, people. Jake uses a distraction to schoolboy the champ for a 1, 2, and 3/4. Ted is now furious. Great back and forth action. Both men trading the advantage to a 5-star match. Jake goes for the DDT, but Ted counters with the $1 Million Dream. Jake eventually taps out and still WWF Champion, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Now, after the match, Ted DiBiase would stuff a $100 bill in Jake's mouth, demanding Foreman raise his hand. George does, but then he hits him with an uppercut, knocking the WWF Champion out to close the show. Now, that's one successful year for Ted DiBiase as the WWF Champion. Where do we go from here? Would Hogan, after getting his monumental win over the Macho King, would he go on to SummerSlam to be the new #1 contender? I mean, would it be time for the Hulkster to get his title back? Would we still get the $1 Million title after that? Would that signal the birth of the $1 million title still. Because let's face it, that was a very instrumental part of 89, 90, into the coming so on and so on. Or would Ted become a two-time WWF champion shortly thereafter, regaining the title from the Hulkster? What if? These are the questions we ask you each and every week here on Card Subject to Change. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? Was it good? Was it bad? Would you agree? You disagree? Where would you have went with it? But at the end of the day, you got to remember, people, the card is always subject to change.